I'm not even Mexican. I don't know why President Trump keeps saying that. He needs to say it to my face, Holmes. And while we're at it, I'm getting really tired of all that dollar store Obama shit. It's getting old, homie. My name is not Dollar Store Obama. Okay, pendejo? ¡Órale! ¡Arriba! ¡Arriba!
Well, I hate to say I told you so, but you know the rest of that sentence. Because it appears that Democrats and liberal media are already beginning to regret shutting down the government, ironically for the exact reasons we warned them about, which was number one, if you remember, as I told them, if you shut down the government, you're going to give Trump a lot more unilateral authority to cut the federal workforce and freeze federal funding, which is highly ironic considering one of your demands in this continuing resolution is to stop the DOJ rescissions and essentially limit executive authority when it comes to freezing federal funding or cutting federal workers. So as I've put it, essentially what Democrats are doing is going to stop Trump from shutting down the government by themselves shutting down the government, which really does not make a whole lot of sense, does it? Well, now, just 2 days later, they're screaming, this is Project 2025. Trump is using the government shutdown to cut the federal workforce. That's so bad. Well, gee, I really wonder who could have possibly seen that coming. Wow, you mean to tell me that the government shutdown that many people told you was a bad idea for your political party ends up being a bad idea for your political party? Ladies and gentlemen, clap it up for the high IQ of the Democrat Party and its strategists. And keep in mind, I think what's worth noting about this is we all know that this entire political stunt was done by Chuck Schumer to appease AOC and the far left base of their party in order to potentially stave off a primary challenge in 2028. But a common theme we so often point out about these radical far left activists is that they fail to understand the second and third order consequences of impulsive actions, right? Whether that's them celebrating Luigi Mangione or celebrating the Charlie Kirk assassination, not understanding the ramifications that would cause that are ultimately destructive to their own goals, or this situation right here, where it's like, okay, you shut down the government to fight back against Donald Trump, sure, but what's the fallout of that going to be? What are the ramifications? These people lack that higher understanding. They just want to, like the children they are, basically impulsively throw things and then not understand that consequences are going to come. As I so often say, we're dealing with a bunch of overgrown children who basically never learned valuable life lessons from their parents. They never understood, hey, there's discipline, there's consequences for actions, and that's why leftists do all these things like, shut down the government, or like push an ICE official and then wonder why they got arrested, et cetera, et cetera. So all of that said, guys, I want to tell you about this here today because, again, this is literally real. They're screaming, Project 2025, Trump's so bad, he's firing the federal workers. Yeah, I wonder why he's doing that. First, though, do us a favor. If you enjoy our content, make sure you hit that like button down below and subscribe to the channel if you are new. Help us begin our push to 600K. And that said, so if you don't believe me, here is MSNBC melting down for about 2 minutes straight over how, again, Trump is using the government shutdown to cut the federal government. Good job, Democrats. Again, take a listen.
So, McKay, first of all, fascinating article. And it made me think about how you talk about kind of Russ Vought as, I'd say, the opposite of Elon Musk. You know, he was brought in to head Doge, but he was kind of improvisational, to say the least. But when you talk about Russ Vought, he was always there, right? Quietly, strategically, planning a way. So my question to Michael's point is, what are you watching for next as the two men, the president and Russ Vought, are meeting?
Yeah, the big question that he's going to have to answer in this meeting with President Trump, and that all of us should be paying very close attention to, is where is he recommending furloughs, which is the traditional thing that happens during a shutdown, versus where is Vought recommending reduction in force, which is essentially permanently firing these people, right? Because this is a really important thing that voters and viewers need to understand. This shutdown could be very different from all the shutdowns that we've lived through over the last several years. I think we've become kind of inured to this idea that we have a dysfunctional government, shutdowns happen, it's disruptive, but then they come back. What Vought is trying to do is to use this opportunity to permanently lop off large parts of the federal government, get rid of federal workers that he sees as, basically not on board with the Trump train. And to Michael's point, when I would ask Vought's allies, well, what about this question of when a Democrat gets back into the White House? That's going to happen someday. Aren't you going to regret, this huge power grab? And what they said to me, and they were very candid about it, to their credit, they said, well, the goal is to unravel enough of the federal government now that it will make it impossible for Democrats to rebuild it even when they do get back to the White House.
One of the things I'm committed to do, and this is...
That sounds like a fantastic idea. This is exactly what we voted for, yes. And by the way, the point about Russell Vought highlights another great irony, which is Democrats, again, didn't understand what they were doing, right? Second and third order consequences, ladies and gentlemen. Because these people lobbied so hard to create a divide between Trump and Elon Musk and basically force Elon out of the government. And they thought once he leaves, that's going to save everything. What they did not realize is that, sure, like Elon and Doge are kind of, I guess you could say, flashy. They're very attention grabbing. There's a lot of hype and the movement around them and all that stuff. But ultimately, the guy who's really influencing these decisions is Russell Vought, the head of OMB, right, which controls the hiring for the federal workforce. And this guy is not some billionaire entrepreneur who wants to be involved in the government for a little bit. He's a career expert, right? He's very cunning. He probably knows what he's doing on a much deeper level than Elon Musk ever did. And by forcing Musk out of the government, you've handed all of that federal workforce hiring ability and all the control and the influence over it to Russell Vought. And furthermore, right, again, on this question of, he's using the government shutdown to, basically manipulate the federal workforce as he wants. Again, I asked the question, okay, so if you knew this guy was quote unquote dangerous in your eyes, if you knew he really wanted to do this and what he was all about, then I again asked the question, Democrats, why exactly did you shut down the government? Why exactly did you think it was a great idea to give more power to this guy? I don't know. And frankly, the hilarious thing is the longer this all goes and the more sombrero memes and all that gets posted, maybe Democrats will have to just come to the table and give up all their demands because they're saying, no, please stop cutting the federal workforce. This is so bad. We didn't want this, right? So again, just geniuses we're dealing with here. That said, here is the official statement from Donald Trump that is causing a massive panic attack today on the left. It goes on to say, quote, I have a meeting today with Russ Vought. He is of Project 2025 fame, so Trump is naming it for a reason. We'll explain that in a second. But Russ Vought of Project 2025 to determine which of the many Democrat agencies, most of which are a political scam, he recommends to be cut, and whether or not those cuts will be temporary or permanent. I can't believe the radical left Democrats gave me this unprecedented opportunity. They're not stupid people, so maybe this is their way of wanting to quietly and quickly make America great again. President DJT. By the way, take a listen as he explains this even more. Again, Democrats, what were you thinking with this?
There was an OMB memo going around suggesting that there might be firings during the shutdown. Do you think that will happen if the shutdown goes for a little bit of time, sir?
Well, there could be firings, and that's their fault. And it could also be other things. I mean, we could cut projects that they wanted, favorite projects, and they'd be permanently cut. So you could say, a lot of people are saying Trump wanted this, that I wanted this closing, and I didn't want it. But a lot of people are saying it because I'm allowed to cut things that should have never been approved in the first place.
Can you give us an estimate on the amount of federal workers that the Trump administration wants to fire during the government shutdown? Are we talking hundreds? Are we talking thousands?
Look, it's likely going to be in the thousands. It's a very good question, and that's something that the Office of Management and Budget and the entire team at the White House here, again, is unfortunately having to work on today. These discussions and these conversations, these meetings would not be happening if the Democrats had voted to keep the government open.
Yeah, well, once again, I asked to the Democrats, what exactly did you expect to happen? That said, two comments I want to make about this Truth Social statement. First of all, I think there's a lot of truth in it. This was always an agenda of the Trump administration, especially of Russell Vought. I think he wanted the reason. He simply wanted the excuse. Now he has it. Go ahead. I fully endorse that. But secondly, the interesting component I don't think as many people are talking about is how this is clearly a negotiating tactic against the Democrats. That's why he's going extra extreme. He's saying unprecedented opportunity. We're going to do permanent cuts. We're going to get rid of all these Democrat agencies, even naming Project 2025. Why? Because it's essentially like, okay, you don't want to come out the room, Democrats. We're going to just start ripping apart all your favorite toys. And it's like, okay, you know, every second you don't, that's another toy that gets thrown in the trash or whatever, right? And, you know, to me, that's how I interpret it. It's basically, this is the way that Trump's going to force an end to the government shutdown. There's two strategies. First of all, ridicule the Democrats through the sombrero memes, which I think are highly effective because they just make clownery and make the Democrats look like fools in this whole situation, which they are. But secondly, again, the longer this goes, okay, that's more federal workers fired. That's more of your constituents ultimately who are being damaged, your beloved agencies, not ours. So, you know, it's up to you. Open the government. This stops. If not, then, yeah, it's pretty simple. That said, you, of course, have seen the entire Democrat meltdown today because they're saying he mentioned Project 2025. See, Trump always knew about this. He was lying to us on the campaign trail. Jessica Tarlov, for instance, says, remember the good old days where Trump told us he didn't know what Project 2025 was? So again, look, here's the thing. First of all, I say he's obviously sort of trolling you, and secondly, sort of trying to push your buttons in the sense of, hey, saying to Democrats, we can get pretty extreme with this. That's why you should open the government. That's why he's mentioning it. I don't understand why people don't seem to grasp that fact. They're saying, look, it's proof that he's enacting Project 2025. No, he's naming Russell Vought, who, yes, was a big part in the Heritage Foundation's writing of that portion of Project 2025, which, by the way, to mention on that front, the Democrats did not campaign against this. It's just worth remembering, okay? What they told you on the campaign trail about Project 2025 is that, look at these, policies on abortion and healthcare and all those things. That's what Trump's going to implement. And that's not what Trump was going to implement. That's not what he is implementing. But never once did you hear the Democrats campaign against this idea that, Project 2025 means cutting the federal workforce. Because guess what? We never disavowed or distanced ourselves from that part of it. Doge was obviously highly consistent and in ideological alignment with Project 2025 suggestions for cutting the federal bureaucracy. And they're just simply, shifting the goalposts of this entire conversation. They're not going out and pretending that, hey, see, in the 2024 election, we warned you about Project 25 because we told you he was going to fire federal workers. No, that's not what you said. In fact, if you directly asked us, hey, conservatives, do you support the federal bureaucracy section of Project 2025? Most would say yes, because it's not a problem. But that said, the reason he's mentioning it is because, okay, again, Democrats, great job. You've just given the architect of the Project 2025 section on cutting federal bureaucracy all of the power in the world because you chose to shut down the government. So don't sit here and complain or whine about us. All I have to say simply, Democrats, is enjoy Project 2025 because that's what you asked for. That's what you voted for when you incited the government shutdown. Don't look at us. Don't blame us. You want it to stop. You want the sombrero memes to stop. You got to open the government. It really is that simple. Anyways, that said, the story does indeed go on here because beyond simply the firing of the federal workforce, you of course have to note some could say maybe genuinely good government programs out there that Democrats are fear-mongering about. They're saying, people are going to go hungry because of the government shutdown. People are going to lose their health care. Well, Russell Vought is currently trying to tell the Democrats, unless they open the government, these things could run out of money very soon. So who owns the situation? The people trying to pass a clean continuing resolution or the people who are grandstanding over illegal alien healthcare and a bunch of partisan demands? Just saying.
The government shutdown could mean a federal program that provides food assistance to low-income mothers and children could run out of money in days. Sources tell CNN White House Budget Chief Russ Vought warned House Republicans yesterday it could happen by next week. The most recent government data shows that nearly 7 million women, infants, and children were eligible, I should say, for WIC benefits.
Folks are really concerned about, in the long run, can they rely on this program to get their needs met? We know that for babies, WIC provides 100% of their nutritional needs, whether that's supporting their mom with lactation consulting if they're breastfeeding, or providing potentially medical specialty infant formula. So that could be a real crisis.
Well, that doesn't sound good. But guess whose fault that is, right? Who's the one holding this up? Who is the one shutting down the government? The Democrats. So, great job. Because according to you, because sometimes you guys fearmonger excessively about who actually is on these government programs, but fine, according to you, single moms and their babies are going hungry. Trump is instituting Project 2025 and firing the entire federal workforce and all this stuff. And he's basically using the shutdown to become a dictator. But you in your infinite wisdom don't think to yourself, oh, we should stop the shutdown so that Congress can be open, so that we can actually negotiate funding and do things and give money out to the agencies so that way we save them and they don't end up having to all be cut, right? Right? But it doesn't make any sense. These people are, not the brightest, I guess you could say. That said, you are starting to see the damage control come out from Democrat politicians. As one example, I bring you here Senator Raphael Warnock out of Georgia, who's trying to defend the Democrat strategy to shut down the government, saying it's that existential. This is why we need to do it. Except you'll notice a problem with this. So he puts out that I was sent this by a Georgian this morning. 2025 premiums versus 2026 premiums for someone making $65K a year. Republicans in Washington did this. This is what I'm fighting to stop. This is what's at stake in the shutdown fight. As you can see, he posts a screenshot of two healthcare plans from Anthem Blue Cross. The old one, allegedly, was worth $307 a month. The new one, the premium there he's paying is $964 a month. It's like, oh, really? So Trump is raising your healthcare costs, guys. This is because of Big Beautiful Bill. What's going on there? Except there's just a couple problems with this. First of all, what you might notice is that the healthcare plans are not even the same. He's showing a screenshot of two different healthcare plans and saying, look, see, this is proof that Trump raised the cost. No, that's not true. Because let's read it, carefully here. So the first one is Anthem Bronze Blue Value X 5000. It's a bronze HMO. The second one is Anthem Bronze Blue Value HMO 5000. Okay. You notice one, bronze HMO over here on the left, bronze HMO, bronze HSA HMO. They're not even the same type of healthcare plan, ladies and gentlemen. Really. And by the way, I don't understand what this even has to do with anything. Because you guys are talking about Medicaid, are you not? Is that not what you're fighting so far hard for? And you're also wanting to keep maybe like the Obamacare tax credits or something? So two things to keep in mind, right? First of all, this is a private marketplace healthcare insurance plan. So what are you talking about? How are your Medicaid, stuff going to save any of this? But secondly, I would point out that actually there is a reason why private healthcare premiums raised drastically for the vast majority of Americans under Obamacare, because you guys want to keep making a big thing out of this. And that's, of course, why, because there was more government regulation and interference in the private market. So that raised the cost. Because first of all, a lot more government subsidies, many of the same government subsidies, by the way, that Republicans are not trying to entirely cut, but reform, for instance, when it comes to Medicaid, right? And then secondly, you think about all the Obamacare mandates where it became a lot more difficult to customize your health insurance coverage, up until Trump challenged it in the Supreme Court. There was a tax penalty for not having health insurance. And so basically everyone had to come and pay it. So that created, guess what? A lot more demand, the same amount of supply, which allowed the suppliers, the insurance companies, to basically start upcharging, right? Because you put more government stuff in it and there's less kind of rules to compete and ways to compete, I should say. That's exactly what happens. That's basic capitalism, right? So first of all, I don't want to be told about any Democrat out there how we're going to make your healthcare more affordable. Because unless you're talking about free healthcare for illegal aliens, which I know you guys are big fans of, the vast majority of Americans don't actually feel it. Okay, our healthcare has gotten more expensive because of liberal healthcare reforms. They suck. They don't actually work. Okay. And yes, it is time, if you want to lower the price of health insurance, to actually try something new, frankly. And there's a lot more to be said about, The greed, for instance, of the hospitals charging like $100,000 for ER bills and pharmaceutical corruption where you can't even negotiate drug prices and stuff like that. That's also true, right? I think we generally need more market reforms across the board. But yeah, again, these people now telling you, hey, if you don't listen to the liberals on healthcare, your healthcare costs will go up. Oh, really? Oh, really? Anyways, that said, that's damage control number one. That's just not even true, right? Let's just like post 2 different healthcare plans and claim that it's proof of anything. We also have the Democrats who you may have seen try to post this kitty meme to explain the government shutdown. Now, in fairness, this is a popular meme on TikTok, meme format, I should say, on TikTok, right? A lot of people do this. But take a look at how badly the Democrats actually explain this. And again, this is the damage control video, so check it out.
Republican and Democrat kiddies cannot agree on what should be funded. Democrat kiddies want you to have health care. Republican kiddies do not. Republican kiddies control the Senate, House, and the White House, so they're using that to cut your health care and give money to billionaires. Democrat kitty tries to negotiate, but Republican kitty keeps running away. He has a vacation to get to. Uh-oh, suddenly the money you pay for your health insurance has tripled. Thanks, Republicans.
Again, what are they even talking about? But the GOP has responded with this very appropriate response. There you go. There you go. Incredible, right? You know, memes are supposed to be funny. I'm not sure if Democrats understand that. The whole thing is forced. I just write from the script. Oh, the healthcare costs, all this stuff, right? It's totally inorganic, which is something that Democrats seem not to understand about their entire sort of independent online media strategy. Is the whole reason people like independent media is because it feels real in a sense. And of course, that's not what's going on. Anyways, last piece of damage control I want to show you is now when Hakeem Jeffries is asked if he will withhold receiving a paycheck during the government shutdown. And here you see once again that the situation is rapidly coming apart as he squirms and basically refuses to answer that, while claiming, of course, he's fighting for the American people and their health care and the federal workers that he's causing to get fired right now. But is he going to go down with the ship? Now the answer there is clearly no. Take a listen.
So there's been several members of Congress that have asked federal pay to be withheld if this shutdown extends. Do you advise Democratic members to do that, or is it up to them?
Yeah, that's a question that every individual member is going to have to make on their own, as has always been the case in the past.
Will you withhold yours?
First of all, that question is not even a ripe one because we're anticipating that this shutdown issue will be resolved.
So we often have to do this where we translate politician speak, but the answer there is no. No, he will not withhold receiving his paycheck. He will 100% still be fine. It's everyone else that he's trying to sacrifice. His own constituencies. Again, like think about federal workers, people receiving government benefits. No, all the Democrat voter bases, essentially, they have to get screwed over. But the Democrat leadership, ladies and gentlemen, I'm just fine. I'm going to keep standing here and fighting for illegal alien health care. And he claims it's going to be resolved soon. But resolved soon how? Because Trump is making it very clear, and I hope the Republicans stay with this because, like, Democrats are the ones who need to open the government, not us. Like, we're doing fine, frankly, right? But, you know, they're not going to sit there and accept illegal alien healthcare, your outrageous demand. So either you're just going to cave and vote for the continuing resolution that you already did in the past, or you're going to keep shutting down the government, and in the process, it's not going to be resolved quickly, right? So what exactly are these people talking about? Either they're not going to fight Trump or the government shutdown is going to last a very long time. You can't have both. Now, maybe I'm reading way too much into it because Hakeem Jeffries is just giving like a scripted word salad answer to the question. I just want to point that out. Anyways, that said, guys, let me know your thoughts on all of this in the comment section down below. What do you think of the Democrats throwing a boomerang back around at their own face? What do you think of some of their new talking points about healthcare costs going up? Yeah, Democrats have never raised your healthcare costs, guys. Let me know. Be sure to leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel if you are new, and until next time, God bless and peace.